You can either take the red pill, you'll wake up, everything was a dream, or you can take the black pill, you can get torched.
Well, I suppose getting torched won't hurt that much. I don't feel anything.
Wait for it.
Oh, wait. I just got a new client.
Get torched! Get torched! Get torched!
I'm Wayne Carey, and this is The Truth Hurts.
Well, we're back for another episode of The Truth Hurts. Sun's out, guns out today, Duck, and I'm actually peeling. I'm peeling a little bit.
Sometimes maybe you should just give me a call and ask me what you're wearing, because I've actually got a grey tee and a black hat on today. The sun is out. How good is Melbourne? Isn't Melbourne alive at the moment?
Yeah, it's
you know,
fantastic.
the weather's been turned on. Beautiful day on Derby Day.
Let's not talk about Saturday.
Going to be
I'm still a bit upset about how Saturday turned out, to be honest.
Well, I'm a little bit upset myself, actually.
So Saturday morning, you've given me a call.
Yeah.
I was out of bed, actually, which is unusual because I think it was before 9 o'clock. But you called me up and offered me a spot in the marquee on Derby Day, and I turned it off.
And you turned it down. You weren't the only one. You're about 10th on the list.
I did think, I wonder how many blokes he's called before he's got the
first. You were the first. No, I did happen to have a spare ticket in one of the great Matty Hill. They do a great thing on the winning post there. Great event, right? Big balcony overlooks the track, and yep, you were at the top of my list, about 10th.
So for our listeners and or viewers, some context. I am playing a very low standard of cricket at the moment.
Oh, you've gone straight from D grade footy to D grade cricket.
Yeah, yes, was playing,
and you can't bat or bowl.
And I'm a worse cricketer than I am a footballer as well. Yeah, so I felt, because it was the day of the game, that I felt a little bit bad. But I did consult with a few mates and say, "What do you reckon?" They go to the races for sure. But they said, as soon as you turn down the king, you're definitely not making any runs today.
Probably, yeah. Oh, and what'd you make?
I've got 5.
Oh,
so I was
turned down the whole day for that.
So I got out at about, I reckon. So the game started at 12:30. I got out at about 10-1. So I could have probably come after I batted. And from then on, all I could think about was what you were doing in the marquee. Yeah. So
you know what? It was great because it was such a beautiful day. You go in and out, and you know the sun. It was an absolute perfect day, other than the fact that it was very hard to back a winner. But it's an interesting time, this time of year. You've obviously got a lot going on, and you got to pace yourself. I tell you what, like there's so many different little things going on. Your weekends have been filled up. You've had all sorts of shenanigans.
I have had a bit on. I was actually at a Bucks Day yesterday. Before we move on from the racing, though, and you talk about losing on the punt, and I've got to make an apology to a few mates of mine. They did tell me that I left it out of last week's show when I should have mentioned it. I got a tip from a bloke at the footy club. He rarely posts tips in the group, but generally, he gets them pretty close. If a tip misses, you accept that happens, but I've told them this horse. I've actually accidentally told them the wrong horse.
Oh, you're kidding me.
So that, and I thought, his tip
didn't win. Did it? The wrong horse win.
His tip hadn't won. No, Then I started seeing these messages in the footy chat. All the blokes are yahooing and going, great tip. Whereas my mates are down in the dumps, and I've given them. So the horse that he tipped won. But
what did it pay?
It paid $5.50. And these blokes, they worked it out. They said I cost them between about 4 of them about $1,200 or $1,300.
Understandably upset.
I did go to a Bucks Day yesterday out at the Grand Hotel out in Warrandyte, out in the sticks. Actually, my cousin's Bucks. Very casual affair. Good afternoon.
It is So what do you have to dress up, or are those days gone?
Well, it's an interesting question. He was there in shorts and thongs. I think it was a deliberate ploy so that he didn't.
Oh, he couldn't get dragged out.
But even there was not much placed on him in terms of drinking expectations either. I tried to ramp that up a little bit.
Those days, if it's your buck show, you've got to have a little bit of a crack with the boys, don't you?
Yeah, and he did. I spoke to him this morning. He said he had a spew last night.
Even the hens parties you see these days, they're a lot more tame. They're
Yeah.
a bit more classy now. They don't, they don't necessarily get all dressed up and carries certain toys and all that sort of stuff around, and
no one's
and
getting
carry on
glad
like a
wrapped
pork
to the
chop.
bloody.
Or chained to a Stobie pole or a telegraph pole if you're from Victoria. Stobie pole, South Australian, by the way.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
So I spent a little bit of time there. It does bring up. So I've had Derby Day, but before Derby Day, I had a lunch at Lamaro's, which is just around the corner here. Great pub, fantastic food, and got the boardroom because I had a heap of guys coming down from Queensland. Now, knew some of the guys, obviously, because I'd organised for them to go there. But the other half of the group I didn't know. So we get into the boardroom and sit around and the guys, they're interstate. And given that you're just coming off the Bucks, this leads beautifully into this topic because just down the road from Lamaro's is a place a lot of people call Baby Cats. And the reason why they call it Baby Cats is because they don't want to say kittens.
It's code, yeah.
They don't want to say kittens. So they say Baby Cats because then people don't know what they're talking about. Although everyone,
gentleman's establishment, is that
there's a few people that talk about this quite a bit, even on radio, but they say Baby Cats and people don't. Anyway, it's kittens. It's a strip joint. And there's a lot of strip joints around, but kittens is just down the road, and it brought up a topic. So all of these business guys, they're all middle-aged men, majority of them married, most of them twice, but we're sitting around, and I went around the room and said, and this is why I like buck shows. So for instance, the common theme is your wife or your partner or girlfriend, whatever you want to, or whatever your status is. What are the provisions for you to be allowed to go to a strip club? And maybe there's one strip club that you're not allowed to go to because it's a little bit different to another strip club or whatever. Now, I find that kittens or baby cats, if you want to call it, I find that it's like a bar. So, you
that's how you're.
Well, it's more like a bar for me in terms of other traditional strip clubs. So. You can stand around and just have a drink. It doesn't mean you have to go and get dancers, or you don't have to sit down and watch dancers or anything like that. You can stand around and chat with a mate, for instance. So the topic came up and it was okay. So if you're at a buck show, obviously most guys are allowed to go. Now, sometimes under duress and your partner not overly happy, but
yes.
So I went around the room and got a consensus from everyone, and it's amazing how many guys go. I said, "So you're allowed?" Not allowed, but I go.
Yeah. So, okay. So there's not telling.
Not telling, which means generally the interstate rule.
Yeah. Okay.
So
then if you get found out, then you're in even more trouble.
You're in more. Yeah, you're in trouble.
Because if you're up front.
Then there's not allowed to go. Then the guys, then other, yes, 100% allowed to go. No, would never go because. Told not to. So it just brought up this, it's a fascinating conversation because I think, it gets a lot of people relationships into trouble because, guys get sucked into going and it's amazing how quickly you go down to line up. And as you know, I don't line up there. I'm straight. I'm
into the little VIP.
I'm straight in, and taking them in there for an experience.
So that's why you were doing.
But it's amazing. I was working.
Yeah. Okay, I understand.
And it's amazing. It's amazing when you're walking in and you see the guys in the line lining up to get in, and the amazing how many are standing there going, "Oh yeah, this is going to be a great bucks." You can tell they're not on a bucks. But they're actually saying they're on a bucks, or happy birthday, mate. Yeah, it's not his birthday. So you're all in there. There's just and there's some guys, you see guys that are, they're hiding in the corner, and other guys. It is, if you want to people watch, it is,
the psychology of it.
It is fascinating.
So you reckon there's a few blokes that are a little uneasy in there?
Because I'm allowed to go. So
will you bring it up or not?
Hey?
Would you bring? Do you?
Oh, I'd say if I'm going there, I'm taking people there, or so if it is a corporate thing and guys want adult entertainment, then I've taken them. So it's not a problem. So when I go in and guys obviously see that you're duck, and see that you're not cowering in the corner, and you see others that are. I just find it. I actually love it. And if you come home, the other part of it is. You're not doing all that wrong if you come home and you've got drink cards left in your pocket as well. I came home, I had 9 drink cards still in my pocket.
Surely you could have handed them to someone.
Well, if I'd remembered that they were there, I probably would have given them out and home before midnight. So it was it was good. And
so this is what you did post races on Saturday.
Post races on Friday night.
Oh, Friday night.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I had to, like I said, it was a business. Had to and got a phone call the next day from 4 of the guy and said had an absolute ripping night.
So now, if their partners happen to be listening to the Truth Hurts, they know they've got.
Well, that's why I didn't mention any names. And
they've gone to baby cats on the Friday,
and they don't know that they were there with me. But it does bring up, and I've got relatives, best mates that all vary. Some allowed to go, some definitely, not allowed within 100 metres. So. It is. I do find it fascinating, and I also find it fascinating, and I also ask their part, like why, and everyone has a different reason why they don't want their partner or their partner is allowed to go to these particular venues. But I just find it interesting.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time. It was something that maybe when I was young and from Tassie coming over to the mainland that you might when you're 18 or 19 as a more mature adult, perhaps not something.
Anyway, I just thought it was.
So are you a regular customer?
No, I'm not. Semi-regular. Semi-regular.
Yes. So they know
Work
you down.
wise.
Yeah, all work. Yeah. I can imagine that. Well, speaking of work, I was back on the tools, so to speak, on the weekend. Made a little sneaky TV return. If I'm going to pump myself up.
How does that work? Are you? What's that an assignment? You just get called up and you're allowed to.
Well, I actually need to start earning a little bit more money at some point after having about 6 months off, aside from the Truth Hurts. So I've just said I'm available for the odd shift. But I ended up doing some crosses on this mushroom story, which is we've Truth Hurts gone AWOL. I know this is some.
We've gone AWOL this week.
Some different.
We've gone from baby cats, kittens to mushrooms.
Mushrooms. It's a fascinating story, and I don't want to trivialise it because obviously people have passed away. Now the lady involved, Erin Patterson is her name. It's alleged. She's been charged with 3 counts of murder and 5 of attempted murder from, effectively poisoning these people is what police are alleging. It's the media attention on this is like I got a call yesterday. Someone from the Daily Mail in the UK needs someone on the ground to help them out over here. The press from everywhere are just converging on the story. Yeah, it's like it's world news for whatever reason. I think
I haven't. I don't watch a lot of news these days. I find it very incredibly depressing, to be honest, with what's going on around the world. But, and also down at Dalesford yesterday.
Yeah, shocking.
How sad is all of that? I mean, the news just is really, really depressing. But are you saying me that this is getting world coverage?
I know the BBC and a whole lot of other networks were out there too, and now they're planning about being here for potential trial that may happen in the new year. So police are now, poring over all her computer and search history and all that sort of thing. So bizarre story, and not to trivialise it, but I
don't know too much about it. So what she's picked poisonous, allegedly picked poisonous mushrooms.
So there's these death cap mushrooms.
They just grow in the field.
Supposedly, I mean, I don't know where they come from, but you can't go and buy. You don't go and buy them at the shop. There was a beef Wellington dish served at a family luncheon at a property in Langatha in July. Her in-laws got really sick straight away, went to hospital, and they passed away in hospital. Her estranged husband has had health issues in the past, which police are now alleging are related to this as well. The thing was, she ate at the luncheon, and her kids were, but they didn't get sick. So that's where so it is a bizarre story, and one that that's going to play out on. I know it's some interesting crossover on the Truth Hurts, but it did get me thinking about your different sort of bizarreness with you. But you've always been on the edge of some strange stories, haven't you?
No, you asked me just before. Well, has there ever been something strange or a story involving the media?
Yeah.
And probably one of the strangest is I used to live about 50 metres, 100 metres from the Morans. So
really,
yeah,
wow.
So Jason and Mark and Lewis lived, so they were basically neighbours. So it didn't, and this has been spoken about before, and I think there was a headline. I gave character evidence for Jason as a neighbour, because I saw a change in him as a neighbour. So everyone thought that we were mates and all that, which we weren't. But I knew them just through driving past and them pulling me up and talking and running into them at the supermarket or whatever.
And you obviously knew at that stage their reputation, that was the height.
No, I didn't.
Oh, you didn't?
I had, and I know people say, crap.
Yeah.
But at that particular time, I had no idea.
Yeah.
And to be honest, saw a change in Jason at the time. Like from when I think he, he'd pull me up in the car and he'd, be been on the drink or whatever. And then all of a sudden, I didn't see him for a little while. Then the next time I saw him, he seemed like a completely different person. So that's what I spoke about when I was asked to do it through a mate who was mates with the Morans. So one of the more bizarre things, then the Underbelly series came out. And so this was the first one. And now at this stage, obviously, I know a little bit about the story, but had the director, or maybe it wasn't the director, but whoever was doing the series, knock on my door and give me a script and wanted me to play myself in the Underbelly series. So this is the most bizarre.
Yeah,
one of the most bizarre things.
And so you had a look at the script and you just.
Well, I had a look at the script and it was basically, they'd obviously heard that we were neighbours, so they knew that there was, and read the script. I didn't say no straight away. I thought I'll read it and see what this is going to make me look like or not look like. So the script was basically that Jason knocked on the door and I answered the door and he's not happy with me for some reason. I'd be lying if I knew remembered exactly, but basically he pulls out a gun and puts it to and threatens me, and I get down and go, no, and I cower and I think, no, I'm not playing that.
Well, because it didn't make you look hard. So
it made me look, I mean, don't get me wrong. You obviously would do that if someone did that. But I read the script. I thought, this, maybe if I just grabbed the gun off him and, did kung fu or something and, Steve Seagal move. And, but
so did you go back to him and say, I'll do it if maybe I don't have to do it?
No, I didn't. I read I just thought, no, this makes me look, really weak. So even though you would do that, if that was the case.
In your life, you would cross paths with all manner of people.
Yeah.
And so, but at the time, was the Underbelly War, as Gangland War as we know it, was it?
It wasn't in the peak of it then.
Yeah, and so
it was starting though, I think.
When you were living there, so for you, it was not concerns for you at the time.
No, no. The thing about being in Melbourne and being anywhere for that matter is you meet people all the time. I'm a big believer in you treat people how they treat you. You don't have a bio. If someone comes up and says "G'day" to you, you don't have a bio on them and know exactly what.
And you would get a lot of people that you don't know.
You do, and once again, I certainly don't judge. And when you meet someone and they come up and they're being nice to you, you don't just hang on, mate, are you don't ask those sorts of questions or get involved in that type of thing. But always coming across, all sorts of characters. And, like I said, I clearly don't judge anyone that I come across. That's for sure.
So this confrontation is completely fictitious. There was you never had an argument or anything like that with.
No, he never. No.
So that would have been a bizarre piece of television to have you pop
and
up.
especially playing myself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't.
This show today has just gone everywhere.
It has. Well, this is what we do. I mean, not as
No,
much.
so that was the most interesting.
I know.
Situation. that
Maybe
probably.
it was a clunky segue from me from mushroom lady into you, but it both equally bizarre. NBA this week, I've been loving the return of the NBA. It's been back for a couple of weeks now, but I didn't know if I really believed the hype on this number 1 draft pick, Victor Wembanyama. So Wemby, they call him. Initially, I wondered, is he going to be too slight a frame? Initially, is he going to be bullied, out of it? He's 224 centimetres, so 7'4" or something. He's a cheat code, and he's only played 5 games. It's unbelievable what he's doing.
Well, he's just tall,
and he's got the skills of a 6'3" guy. Like he's what he's doing.
What his handles?
He's got great handles.
Has he?
I like the way you illustrated handles. Then for
He's
those,
got good handles.
he's got good handles. But so he was playing on Kevin Durant at one stage, and Kevin Durant's not a small guy.
He's just under 7 foot himself, isn't he?
Yeah, he's definitely over 200 centimeters. So he made him look small. He made him look like a small guard. And you're going, who's this little guy guarding him at the moment? It's Kevin Durant, one of the best players in the league. He was making him look silly. One thing really tickled my fancy from the NBA this week, though, was James Harden. So he's just been traded.
I did hear this.
He's just been traded from Philly to the Clippers. And so James Harden, there seems to be a saga that sort of follows him wherever he goes. He's a gun, obviously, but he's become a bit of a law unto himself. So his quote was, he felt like he hadn't been getting the freedom that he deserved or respect he deserved in Philly. When he got to LA, he said, I'm not a system player.
I am the system.
I am a system. Not even you would say something like that.
Which is but that sums up. It sums up a lot of guys over there and why sometimes when they put, 3 or 4 good players in the one team that they don't win a championship because it's all about them. They can't combine as a team, and it's why we talk highly of Jordan and others that bring teams together, not be so individual. And he's clearly an individual, so he wants the ball all the time. He's not prepared to be that team player, and that I don't think he's going to be winning championships if that's his attitude.
It is funny. I heard Ange Postecoglou talking about it from a Tottenham point of view in the Premier League. He was saying that there's no point us, because Tottenham's got a little bit of money to spend at the moment. The people were like, well, who do you want to buy? This world-class player or that world-class player. And he said, what? To be honest, I want role players. You want guys that know that they may not get the minutes, but when they're called upon, they can really impact. You would have had guys that
I think it's the biggest change in sport. In modern times, the difference between sport now and sport in the 90s, and so let's go back to in basketball terms, football terms, whatever you want, and it was individuals could impact teams, but then you look now and it is a team game, and it is more role players playing their role for your team to invariably be way better, and I think that is the biggest change in sport, team sport. Without doubt. And, I think, Jordan's documentary is a great insight into that. I thought Beckham's documentary, great insight to that. As you said, Ange, another great example of saying that. I think you look at Geelong. Geelong lost Gary Ablett Jr., won the premiership the year after. So the game's best player. Hawthorn lost Buddy Franklin, won the premiership years later. If you were to take those players years ago out of the team, if they're their team's best players, I don't think you win the premiership. So that's where I think team sport has definitely, it's definitely better because that's what it is, team.
Your North Melbourne team of the 90s had a lot of stars, but there were guys.
No, I wouldn't have won anything with it. No, only
there would be guys in your team too, though, who were asked to play less fashionable roles.
I was lucky enough on Saturday. at the derby, which you missed, to have a couple with an old teammate of mine, Martin Pike.
Oh, Martin Pike, he was at the races.
Pikey was at the races and in the marquee too. He was in the same marquee. He was there with some boys and he's had a good friend over from Adelaide, Tony, that Pikey knew from a kid as well. So it was great synergy. Ian Botham was there.
Pikey? Was he?
Hey, he was good. Pikey was being Pikey.
I don't mean firing up like
no. He was great.
Yep.
But talk about one of the great team, guys that just come in and make a team better.
Yeah.
He won a flag at North, unlucky not to have won 2, then went and won 3 at Brisbane. And that's what he was, a role player. He could play centre forward, centre back, wing, on ball. He could play anywhere, Pikey. And wherever he played well. And intimidated, he just did everything. He's a great story, Pikey. It'd be a good one to get on here. We might get Pikey on the Truth Search. I think we've had a couple of people message and say we've got to get Pikey on. I think we do. Because I tell you what, he'll...
How many flags has he got?
He's got 4. Played in 6 grand finals.
Yep.
Won 4.
Pretty good record. Good record. I know when we had Justin Lepich on too, he had a bit of a smile on his face when Martin Pike...
Well, he said Pikey runs, a lot of their reunions now, so he gets right behind that. But he would be a great chat. He would tell us stuff that might curl your hair, which would be difficult.
I did when I went on Today's Show on Saturday. The first messages I got were from a few mates saying, "Is that a hairpiece? Where did that hair come from? You didn't have that hair last week when we were playing up in Byron." I said,
"Did they do the can?"
I said, "No, yeah. So it's not a hairpiece. I call it the magic of television. But there's just this little bit of spray on dust that can just give you a bit more volume.
No, I've heard of it.
Yes. Yeah, you might need some too.
Mine's Mosh is kicked right back in.
Oh, you coming back?
Yes.
I was a bit worried about
it. Again. No, the Mosh is kicked back in. It's good.
Just while we're on footy, be remiss. I mean, we spoke about it before it happened. It feels like an eternity ago now. But Simon Goodwin's episode, as it turned out, you knew he was going overseas, so he'd pre-recorded it with Gary Pert, the interview. Did you catch any of it last week?
I did. Yep. So we've got a lot of questions about that, and people. I think the most, and I said, "You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't." People have picked holes through it. I think probably the question that I've been asked of it is that he hadn't spoken to Joel Smith.
Yeah.
So
is that strange? Do you think?
Yeah, a little bit strange, but I guess they're both on holidays. So whether that's not, that bit I found a little bit strange. I did.
Is part of that a coach wanting the player to feel a little bit uncomfortable because he has done something wrong, or do you think?
Well, we don't know what type. I don't know what type of relationship Goody's got with Joel, or whether that's because what you got to remember now, it's not just the senior coach. The assistant coaches have great relationships with the players, and I'm sure that Joel had spoken to someone on the coaching staff. It might have been the senior coach, but that was unusual, I thought.
He was asked about a whole lot of things from the gambling stuff, illicit drugs. We spoke about the footy jumper, and he explained that scenario in terms of he didn't really want to sell it. It was something from years ago, and just put a price on it. But
what did it go for?
It was up for 20,000. I don't know if he ended up selling it or not. I'm not sure if he did. But Gary Pert was perhaps the more testy part of the interview with Gary Lyon. He was talking about Melbourne's culture. Do you think he can honestly say it's the best culture he's seen in 40 years in footy? Can he really say that?
I don't think you can judge one's football culture from incidents that happen outside of the locker room. So when you look at Max Gawn and Viney and Petrarca and all of these guys that, clearly really disciplined, unbelievable footballers that go about their craft in a professional manner. So when you're inside those 4 walls or you're at training and everything else, then I assume that, some of these mistakes that have been made off the ground would not be involving other Melbourne players. So they're not. So by Gary Pert and Melbourne Footy Club saying we don't think we have a bad culture outside here. They can't control everything that every individual at one's footy club does outside. So I think that's defendable. And I think it is a bit of a slap in the face to the guys like Max Gawn and these guys to say that they don't have a good culture. And culture's it's a flippant word that gets thrown around a little bit.
Because if you're winning,
when you're winning, it covers everything up. You know, and let's be honest, they have been winning. So isolated incidents that have come up at a similar time, and it is blown up, and you know, the fact that the Goody thing is, you know, it continually gets brought up, then those three things have just now off the back of that said, oh well, you know, this place is a rabble. I don't think you win a premiership and then finish top 4 2 years in a row if you don't. And people will say, well, what about West Coast and, you know, this and that. And well, once again, I would argue that West Coast, when they were inside the four walls of that football club, you know, that's pre-season training, everything else, there was a professional attitude and a great culture within. Now, outside, you know, what individuals do, they don't have control of. So they're two separate things.
So when you're talking about internal culture, like sacrificing for teammates or putting in the work or...
All of that.
Okay.
All of the above.
Yeah, okay. So there'll be a fascinating watch next year, Melbourne, because there's going to be a whole lot of scrutiny now and it'll be really interesting to see how they respond because they've talked a big game. They've come out and felt the need to do this. So, yeah, I'll look forward to seeing what they can produce next year. Just before we exit the footy chat, we spoke about the potential for matches to be played in Sydney or the northern states early. I saw the Herald Sun report suggesting that it might be called Round Zero, or at least behind the scenes, that's what they were referring it to, these 4 matches as Round Zero. So Round 1 would stay the same. Now, if that to me sounds like that, if that is true,
stupid.
Oh my goodness, what are we doing?
No.
What I will say is the AFL is very, very good at keeping the game in the news by they drip feed these little bits of information, knowing that they're going to cause a bit of a stir. But you know what it means? It means footy's on the, and I'm sure you've seen that many a time over the years. We've got some viewer questions for you, Duck, and a few of these are actually suggestions for the show, which we might be able to incorporate going forward. So this is from JL Rob 85. Should do around 10 random topics for Duck to rate as underrated, properly rated, or overrated. A couple of American channels do it. It's a good laugh. He's actually listed a few here. So I'm gonna just throw them at you with no preparation for you. So it's just your first thought. So example 1, Ross Lyon's coaching record.
Underrated.
You think it's underrated?
Yep.
Okay, so there's some big raps on Ross's record, and you're saying it's underrated. Very interesting. His second one
he's underrated as a coach.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
His second one is Eddie Maguire.
Underrated.
Yeah, Eddie cops a bad rap. So he's a star though. He's
a very good person.
He is, and that's what a lot of people don't see. The work that he puts in behind the scenes. I've had it a number of times where he's gone out of his way and he didn't need to do that.
He's done a lot of things for a lot of people that he doesn't get or doesn't even want people to know about.
Yeah, absolutely. Bunning Snags.
Underrated. I think Snags full stop are underrated.
The Bunning Snag is very good.
Yeah, because you know why? Because they're just the fatty one, and they're the best ones.
They really hit the spot. Yeah. Oh, my missus very happy to get a Bunning Snag when we go in there. An extra reason to go there. The JL Rob 85's final number on underrated, properly rated, or overrated is Mariah Carey.
Oh, I don't know. Well, maybe overrated. I don't know. She's a superstar. I don't know, she's sold. You know, she's my second cousin. Yeah.
Have a look at you.
No, she's not.
You are allowed to say something's overrated. You've gone a bit soft.
I said overrated.
Yeah, if it was a soft overrated.
No, I don't. No idea. I don't listen to a lot of music.
What I will say is I can't guarantee that'll be part of the show going forward, but I did enjoy that then.
Yeah,
so
she does. I think the only reason I've heard that she demands things.
Yes.
In
bit of a prima donna.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
demands rooms to be a certain way and things like that.
Yeah.
Not good.
I'd be interested to know what your demands are because there's a question coming down a little bit further. Here we go. This is from Australians Wayne. Really enjoy your conversation, boys. If not already, can you do a segment on Duck's diet, snacks, favourite foods, and go-to fast foods, cheats, and his fitness regime?
Yeah, well, we can go through that at some time. My favourite snack is chicken chips. Smith's chicken chips.
Oh, chicken chip, like the
chicken chips.
That's pretty random. Yeah.
Old chicken chips.
If you're gonna get some fast, you don't get hungover, so you know.
I don't think you can beat just old-fashioned fish and chips.
Yeah, okay, probably pizza for me, but the stomach doesn't cope real well with the pizza. So, this is from Shane, who's got another suggestion for the show. How about the Truth Hurts weekly awards, Champ of the Week and Dickhead of the Week? That there's some potential in that too. I reckon we could find some of that a bit later on. You'd have to grow a bit of sack though if you're going to go Dickhead of the Week. Yeah, not sure how Duck could go with that. Finding that. This is on bee stings from Why No Cool Names Left was his handle. You need to be stung a second time, sometime after, to find out if you're allergic to bees. The first sting primes the immune system.
Oh, so should I get a bee and stick it on Carter's toe? Or
just be wary that even though he was okay the first time.
Thank you. No, that's good to know, actually.
I do know that's the case with foods as well. We've been going through that with our 11-month-old, that it's not always the first time you give them the food.
Oh, so you can have peanut butter first time and you're fine, and then have it the second time and realise you're allergic to peanuts.
Yeah, that's my understanding. So you got to be
interesting.
Got to be careful.
I'll make sure that we get a bee to bite you.
No, don't get a bee. Just make sure you're there.
Okay.
This is from Austin Rowe. Firstly, I'd like to mention that I'm a North supporter. Secondly, I can't stand an arrogant comment like that from Dud Rewald, who, in my opinion, owes his life to his cousin, Elite Rewald. It's a bit harsh for making him relevant. A perfect example as to why there's no truth to his comment is you, Wayne, probably the most highly renowned forward of the game as a North Melbourne Premiership player. P.S. If you ever get in touch, please do us a favour and send the message through to him. Austin, I don't know if you'll be delivering that. Were you Wayne to Jack or?
No, well, he just did. You just did.
Yeah. Well, he's saying if you speak to Jack, he wants you.
If I do see him in person, I'll pass it on.
It is funny because when in Tassie back in the day, there was some talk that Jack was getting a lot of attention simply because of Nick. He was very flashy as a player, but maybe that time didn't have.
He was the poor cousin. For a long time, he was the poor cousin, and then he won a couple of flags.
Then he got the flags. Draft pick hype is from Heath Wilkie. Harley Reid definitely overhyped. It's not his fault, so feel for him, but he doesn't look as quick as he would need to be to match the significant hype. He'll be a good player, but let's see how good.
Ooh.
So I think he might be maybe echoing some of your sentiment.
Okay, let's find out.
And finally from Dale, Byron Bay is a joke. Had the same issues. They wouldn't let us in because we came from a wedding. So the issues with security, booting blokes one by one last week, being picked off. Yes, Dale, there is some talk that the Nines could be held at another venue next year, maybe on the Sunshine Coast. So maybe that'll be a bit kinder to the lab.
Might start up then if we go down there.
Yeah. So when's the shoulder actually going to be right?
It'll be right by then.
Yeah, but then we've got to worry about the calves and everything else.
We'll be right. If you can get a kick in that league, anyone can.
Thanks again for all of our listener and viewer comments. There's been some really great stuff. If you haven't already listened to, you've done this week, which by the time this goes to air. But
we've had a chat to Greg Hall.
Yep.
And Brent Thompson, two champion jockeys of a little while ago, but Melbourne Cup winner, Greg Hall, and Brent won 4 Cox plates on 4 different horses. Never been done.
It's a very impressive record.
Obviously, there's been 4 Cox plates won, but not on different horses.
Now, last week we had a listener question, and I didn't actually remind you of this before the show, so I might be throwing you under the bus here. We had a listener question about your Melbourne Cup tip. Have you got a Melbourne Cup tip?
No, well, the boys, we've done that on having a chat to the boys.
My bad there. My bad. I'm going to have a listen to your interview to find out who you've tipped and then avoid that like the plague, that horse. Good to see you again, Duck.
Yep.
Some interesting ground this week.
Today. I'll tell you what, we went very obscure today.
That's what you got to do at this time of year, but we're pushing on. So
That's it.
stay tuned. We've got more to come on the Truth Hurts. See you then.
You can either take the red pill, you'll wake up, everything was a dream. Or you can take the black pill, you can get torched.
Well, I suppose getting torched won't hurt that much. I don't feel anything.
Wait for it.
Oh, wait. I just got a new client.
Get torched! Get torched! Get torched!